What's up? I'm back. It's JVceo. Thank you for joining. And if you're not subscribed, make sure you do that. I post a lot of sick content, man. So I've had an influx of questions recently, and I thought I'd do a question and answer because I've never really done that before. I know it's not about me, it's about you. You guys had a lot of questions to ask with regards to a bunch of things, from business to finance to savings and so on and so forth. So I basically said, get all the questions in on my Snapchat, and I'd answer it on a YouTube video, and so here we are. And if you're wondering what my Snapchat is, it's JVceo. So follow me on Snapchat and do pop up. I always reply to everyone that hits me up on Snapchat and stuff. But yeah, without much further ado, let's get started. So question number one from Dangote1: what are the best ways to flip 5 figures? It depends on your risk appetite. So if you have an appetite for risk, then you know that will determine what you want to go for. But generally speaking, at the moment, I'll definitely say e-commerce. It's a growing space, and figure it out yourself. As all these stores are closing down, a lot of these businesses wouldn't be able to keep their doors open for another 12 months. So whilst they're closing down, the online space is just growing. So that's one way to flip 5 figures. Depending on what products you're selling, you know, you can make upwards of 100%, some products 40%, some products 20%. So that's one. The second one would be property flips. To go in, buy properties that needs doing up, and then, you know, put that all in place and, you know, put it back on the market for a profit. It's slightly more difficult to do that now because a lot of people are wisening up to that. But if you have the right network in terms of builders, you may be able to get on that. Next question: how do you get involved in my masterclass? It depends. So I do property masterclass, business masterclass, credit masterclass. Just go on the website jsnow.com and you can get started. Oh, and that was from Watch LaFleur 1. And this is from CEO Billions, I think it says. I'm 19. Would you recommend buying my first mortgage to rent it out and save up for my second mortgage to move in from my parents' house? Would that be a good start? I want to own 5 to 6 properties by the time I'm 30. And another question is, what is the best way to get a head start in property investment? Best way to get a head start in property investment is to do your research and pull the trigger. That's it. Like there's no other way. Occasionally, if you have like a trusted sort of someone that's already in that market and you could shadow some of their deals, obviously that would propel you faster as well. But generally speaking, how I got started was I'd done a bunch of research. I slept on these online sort of forums and stuff, and I pulled the trigger. So that's that. But you got to now be very careful to suss out good information from bad information, because there's a lot of information out there. Why do you want to move out of your parents' house? Like, for me, I just think that there's absolutely no need. You know, there's absolutely no need to move out of your parents' house. You could stay there paying little to no rent and keep buying up properties. But nonetheless, I think 5 to 6 properties by 30 is a great target. And if you could do that, then more power to you. It's definitely possible, by the way. You just got to figure out how to fund those properties in terms of saving up for the deposit, because that would expedite the process for you. And you got to stay in your parents' house. This is from Ashante 4. I'm on the right path. I know where I'm going, but the problem is keeping motivation levels high, because that's when the most work gets done. Anyway, to stop it being a fleeting feeling and make it permanent, question mark. I'm only 17 as well, bro. So whatever answer I get, I have a good time to work on. So that's good. You're starting very early. You're asking yourself the right question. So if I understand it correctly, obviously you lack motivation sometimes. For me, you know, to kind of keep, everyone lacks motivation for sometimes. Let me start with myself. I lack motivation sometimes, but I always show up. Like last week, I wasn't feeling too well. I had some personal problems going on, but I always show up. I always show up. You would see that a Sunday YouTube video from me. You would see me dealing with my businesses. I always show up. But that's because, you know, I've been able to separate the personal from the business, if that makes any sense. And in terms of keeping motivation, you need to be able to trick your mind into it. So sometimes I'll like make up quotes and I'll put quotes on my wall all over my rooms and stuff, because that helps me focus. So that's how you do it. You got to trick your mind into it. You got to stay around the right people. You got to soak in the right energy as well. stay away from social media, stuff like that. That's how you keep the motivation going. And once you have a goal, if that goal is important to you and that goal is, or that vision is big enough for you, then you find a motivation always. You might slip up now and again, but you find a motivation always. A noun from Big 44 Ghost. What are your strategies for investing in stocks, short, long term, and what are the best? What are the 3 best stock recommendations? Big 44. Look, I would love to give you answers, but I'll be honest with you, I don't really do stocks. I have stocks. I've got a good few thousands, tens of thousands in stocks, but I haven't actually bought them myself. I've just got them from like civil cases and stuff. Like when I usually do a civil case, I would usually opt to be paid out in stocks in that company. So that's generally speaking how I have my stocks. I'm not really a stock trader. I'm more of a businessman and a property trader, and that's it. But yeah, I can't help you, unfortunately. But keep doing your research. You should find the answer. Noun from Papes00. He's got a funny question. He goes, what made you go legit? And that is on the assumption that I wasn't always legit. Doesn't know me, don't know where he got that from. But it's still a question, so I'm going to answer it, Papes. Again, assuming that that was the case with myself, I think just observing from an outsider looking in, I think there's definitely a lot more money on the business side of things than the other side of things. So I think once you come to that realization, whatever position you are in life, you start making that transition. So that's that. Now on to the next question from RJ Fresh. You have 2K spare. How are you investing it in this current economic climate? Firstly, I'm going to try and probably save that 2K. I wouldn't invest it just yet. I have different strategies, so I'll give you a couple. I wouldn't invest it yet. I'll try and monetize one of my talent or one of my skill that wouldn't cost me anything to bring to the market, so that I can add to that 2K so that it becomes a substantial amount, and then I can invest it into something a bit more rewarding, because at the moment 2K might not take you very far if you're looking to go down the investing route. Secondly, I would probably do a bit of buying and selling. If I got some good margins in it, 30%, 40%, before you know it, you could turn that 2K into 3K and into 4K and so on and so forth, and that's another approach. And you got to change the mindset as well. You said in this economic climate, believe it or not, there's a lot of money around now. There's so much quantitative easing. Like there's a lot of money in the economy. The only difference is people are not spending it. People are scared, they're holding back, and they're uncertain. So you just got to figure out how to get money out of people's pockets and put it in your pocket. That's how you get it done. The next question is from Igor Olilanik. Best way to get into property, for example, just graduated, so what job or skill should I go for so I can earn enough money to save to buy properties, etc. Go through the starting process. Also, do you know anything about trading? And that's really it. So firstly, about trading, yes, I used to trade. Like I said, I'd never bought stocks, but I used to trade. And those that know me more personally, I used to share a lot of my trading stuff on my social media. But I partly stopped trading because it was just consuming my life. And for me, it wasn't challenging enough. I wanted to use my brain. Trading, I just read the charts and sort of, put trades on and so on and so forth. But running a business or running businesses helps me use my brain, and I just couldn't sleep. I'd put a trade on and I'd wake up at 12 a.m, 1 a.m, 2 p.m, 2 a.m, and so on and so forth. So I just thought, you know what, that ain't for me. Like I want a good life. And with regards to your property question, honestly, it doesn't matter. You can get into property with any sort of job, essentially speaking. You can get into property with a retail job. All you need is to make sure that there's a salary in place. If you don't have a salary in place, then make sure you got your self-assessment for 1 year in terms of being self-employed. If you need more information in terms of just the whole process of buying a property, I'd include a link somewhere up here because I done a video on this last time. The next one is from Whams and Only. I'm 18 and interested into getting into property in the future as I am growing my capital. What do you think I should be doing in the meantime for preparation to start property? Simple. Research, research, research. And then the fourth thing, research. And the fifth thing, research. That's really what you need to be doing. You need to embrace it. I've always said to people, when the finances isn't right and you're not ready to start something, the best thing to do is to grow your personal skills so that when you're ready to pull the trigger financially, you've already got all the background behind you and you could run a lot faster than other people. That's all it is. So embrace your research, talk to people. I wouldn't really say do property courses because I think there's a bunch of nonsense out there. But if you have any trusted sort of models or role models that are already in that business, shadow them. And if you come across any good courses that you think you can benefit from, then by all means, that's what I would say. But most importantly, research. All right, now from Slits 300, again, an assumption. He goes, best way to invest dirty money to clean it. I don't know why he thinks I might be the best person to ask, but I have no answer. I don't know how to invest dirty money and clean it. So yeah, unfortunately, I can't help you with that, but keep researching. I'm sure you'll find your answer. Right, I've got a question, a very good one actually, from Swissmade FX. What's the best way to go about purchasing a car? It is something that is essential for me, but I can't get over knowing it's a liability and something that depreciates fast. Story of my life. The same reason why I don't really deal with cars, because I'd rather buy watches and so on and so forth, but I'm a big investor. Like, unless you're around me, you don't know how much I'm big on investing. And like, I don't even buy designer clothes now. I used to, but not anymore. Because for me, I would only use my spare cash on depreciating assets once I don't have anything else to do. But guess what? I always have investments to make. So it's very difficult for me. So I know where you're coming from. I'll point you in the right direction though. I can help you massively with that. I'm going to put up a video right here. Watch that video. I talked about buying a car and literally financing a car for free. Literally financing a car for free. So go watch that. That would help you massively. And I've got a question from Onura_NGU. In e-commerce, do you only target customers through Facebook, or are there other platforms for targeting your market? Loads. Facebook is just a bit of it. Everyone does Facebook. Well, all the experienced people do Facebook, but there are loads more. You've got potentially sponsoring the right channels on YouTube. Probably I even find that better than Instagram ads, because on YouTube, you're always going to have new people watching that same video and then seeing your ad. So that's one way. You could go traditional in terms of, you know, radio ads and so on and so forth, but it's just understanding where your market is. You could even go a step further and you could start buying details and, you know, doing email marketing, which is, again, is massive. And again, you could even go down the route of using a marketing company and carrying out all your marketing needs. So it's a range. It's a range of things. But yeah, generally speaking, you've got Instagram influencer marketing, you've got Facebook marketing, you've got YouTube sponsorships, and you've got even utilizing your circle of friends. Sometimes it's not as effective, but they're there. Use them. So I've got a question from myself, Mix. Best time to buy a property during these strange times? Question mark. I think the housing market would drop more, but would love to hear what you think. I agree with you. At the moment, the housing market is down by around 5%. There's predictions that it would be down by around 10% by the end of the year, and potentially wouldn't recover till even next year. And there's one company, I can't remember, what company is that? There's a research I was reading and they said it could be down by 20% by next year. But I would treat the property market like the stock market. Again, bearing in mind that I always encourage you buying right. So now what you do is you stagger your entries into the market. So at the moment, for example, I'm going viewings tomorrow. Tomorrow is Monday, correct? So I'm shooting this on a Sunday. So I'm going for viewings tomorrow, hopefully pick up some properties then. And I wouldn't be in the market for another 3 months. Hopefully the market would have dropped again. I'll pick up more properties, and then maybe early next year I'll pick up even more properties. So you stagger it. That way you sort of leverage your risk around rather than like going in one time in the market. But that's only applicable if you're buying multiple properties. If you're buying one property, I'll probably say hold fire, wait till the end of the year and see where the market is before you pull the trigger. But yeah, the best time to buy a property is now, essentially speaking, like during this period, because sellers are terrified. Right, I've got a question from Hussein 3000. how to allocate and manage income, money, and how to use credit to your advantage, in bracket credit cards, loans. And thank you should be highly appreciated. You should do one on how to invest money generally. But yeah, thank you. I'll probably end up doing this as a whole YouTube video because I think you've asked a really good question. How do I manage my finances? How do I work out my income? So I use some very simple spreadsheets, like nothing fancy. I have a main one in Excel, but I rarely use it. I use things on like Word with tables. I have like a net worth tracking app. So I'm always looking at it. There's a few things I have in place, but I'm going to do a full video on this so that I can, go into more detail because I think there's a lot of people that need this. How do I really structure my finances so that I'm able to invest more? I believe that's what you're asking. And in regards to credit, how do you benefit from using credit? Credit is your friend if you know what to do with it. And that's really it. Firstly, you just got to make sure that you have the best credit rating so that you could take advantage of the best interest when getting these credit. And once you do that, then the world's your oyster because you could utilize the bank's money and make more money, essentially speaking, or deal with your personal needs. So that's that. But I'll do a whole video on this, so look forward to that. So I've got a question from Daryl Girton. How did you start off your journey to financial freedom? I just worked and worked and worked. I'm a workhorse. It's rare that you find someone that will outwork me. I'd work till 12 midnight and I'll be up at 4 a.m. or 5 a.m. and I'll be working from that point. So, that's why I don't really like competing with people. I don't compete with people, generally speaking, because you can't compete with me. Because by the time you go sleep, I'm still awake. And by the time you wake up, I'm already working. So you can't compete with me. But that's my sort of thought process. And that doesn't come from an arrogant place. That just comes from a place of self-awareness and self-satisfaction, I guess, if that's the right term to use. But yes, that's how I done it. I just worked and worked and worked. I outworked everything. I outworked my fears, and I knew I was a genius, and I just let that shine through. So if you know you're a genius, let that shine through as well. Don't be scared of doing things. What's the worst that can happen? Make a mistake. You make a mistake, you learn from it. I've made several mistakes, God willing, none of them was too costly, but I've made several mistakes. But yeah, you just pull the trigger and you learn from it. But most importantly as well, like I've said previously, embrace your research. So I've got a question from Ollie Wavy, and he's basically asking, are mortgages the only route to like financial freedom, like, buying properties? I guess, I believe that's what his question is. And of course not. Although I preach properties and I buy properties, like, it's just one of the things that I do. So I do a whole range of other things. I'm always on the prowl for new business opportunities as well, because I know that that's not just where it is. And even when it comes to properties, there's different routes to go. You could go into properties in other parts of Europe, not just the UK. You could go into properties in your home country, Nigeria, Asia, Africa, Caribbean, wherever you're watching this video, or wherever you're from, whoever's watching this video. So there are other routes to it. So it's not just property, but for me, property is one of the surest way. I used to say this around 4 or 5 years ago. Property is one of the surest ways to becoming a millionaire, and I still stand by it. Let's go. I should have changed spots already, but I got caught up with just talking. So yeah, here we are. I said, let's give you a different angle so you don't get bored, I'd hope. Right, I've got a question from Shaha2929. I want to get into real estate, but I have no capital. Where would I start? And if you do see this, thanks. Thank you for sending in a question. Where should you start if you want to get into real estate? Like I said in my previous video, it's 3 areas. Firstly, it's obviously dealing with your credit. Secondly, it's dealing with the finances in terms of raising the deposit. And thirdly, it's having a salary. So the best way to start is probably to start some little side hustles and, start getting the cash flow in, and then think about how you'd actually get yourself into a salary, because salary is how you get started, especially if you wanted to do a residential. The bank would usually give you around 3.5 to 4 times your salary. But even if you wanted to do a buy-to-let, especially being a first-time sort of investor, they would always want you to have a salary behind you to sort of, back up that loan size that you're taking from them. And then I had another video on Twitter from Golden Girl, and it says, basically, If there's one business move you could do again with the resources and knowledge you have now, which would it be? And what resources and knowledge would you apply? I think that's a very tricky question, because obviously now I have more finances to sort of get. My dogs are in the background, ignore them. Now, of course, I have more finances to get things going. But I think I'll do everything all over again, if I'm being honest. Oi! I think I'll do everything over again, if I'm honest with you. The only thing is, I'd probably get started in properties a lot earlier. And I'll probably get started in e-commerce a lot earlier. But I'll probably do everything again, because I think everything is what shaped me into who I am today. So that's my answer to that. I don't really have any regrets with my trajectory, and if I'm being honest, I think my trajectory has been really good. I've always separated myself from everyone else. I've always had my own vision. When everyone went right, I went left. When everyone went left, I went right. So yeah, I have no regrets in that sense. So I'll still do the same businesses that I'm doing now. I'll probably spread my wings a little bit more and, you know, try other things that is slightly out of my comfort zone. But yeah, that's really it. If I missed your questions, then I'm really sorry. Just send me a direct message and I'll try and answer it directly at that point. But yeah, hope you have a great week. Thank you for tuning in till the very end. And listen, man, we're going to blow this channel up, right? We're going to blow this channel up, and we're going to have the best content on YouTube. The best content on YouTube. Like thought-provoking content, financial content, property content. I'm going property shopping tomorrow, actually, so we'll see how that goes. That would come up on YouTube probably next Sunday or the Sunday after. But yeah, we're gonna have a great community here on JVceo. But that's it. Until next Sunday. Goodbye.